Hi, it is Tonya Poole here. Welcome to Becoming the Woman That Manifestations Dream Of. This is a topic that I thought about the other day, and it just stayed in my mind, and I began to, write some things that I knew about manifestation and drawing things into your life. And I said, you know what, I've really got to share. I really got to share this information, or not even just the information, but because I think a lot of times we're so like information driven. To me, this particular, what I'm calling like a teaser to a bigger course, is really about sharing what it is like to know that you are the woman who can draw, the things that you desire into your life, or the experiences that you desire into your life. And I feel like for a lot of people in general, but women specifically, we deal a lot with the self-doubt, or wondering if what we desire is truly something that we can have in our lives. And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, but there's some things that we have to become in order to allow those things into our lives. And so it literally came to me, that title, Becoming the Woman That Manifestations Dream Of. Because a lot of times when we think about manifestations, it's all about trying to come outside of yourself to create something, to make something happen, to make something come to you, when really is about becoming that woman that those manifestations actually dream of. So this is kind of an impromptu thing, but it's also very well thought out, very intentional, this particular class. And so welcome. Thank you for being here. If you see me looking down, it's because I have some notes. So I want to make sure that I stay on point and on topic. But why am I here teaching this class? It's basically to share the three things. There are three things that I realize that all manifestations are looking for. There are, it's a number, it could be a number of things, but those three things kind of encompass all of the, if you have these three things, then you're on a roll, right? So there are three things that manifestations are looking for. And there are three, do I want to say characteristics, or I don't know the word I'm looking for. And thank you. And just bear with me, because this, even though I have notes and I know where I'm going with this is a very intuitive kind of message. This is a very, if you see me, I'm doing a lot of this because I'm really feeling it, so I'm trying to make sure that I have my words together with what I'm feeling and what I want to express and what I feel Spirit is wanting me to share with you all. So yes, the three things that your manifestation is looking for, but also the kind of woman who can possess these three things. So I will talk about both the three things that your manifestation is looking for and the kind of woman that would have these three things. And so if you don't know me, if this is your first time watching anything by me, or this is just our first time, your first time seeing me on the camera or meeting me in any kind of way, I am Tonya Poole. I am the author of The Magic of Self-Love. It's a book about learning to harness your personal power through self-love and self-care. And those two things, self-love and self-care, oftentimes, they're kind of buzzwords right now. So most of the time people stay on the surface of that. And so when I wrote this book back in 2016, actually, I was delving deeper into the topic of self-love. What is self-love actually? What is self-care actually? And how to embody that. And so, yes, I'm the author of The Magic of Self-Love. Some of you may also know that, know me as an astrologer, as someone who is a very spiritual woman, right? And author, I'm an historian. I'll send you my resume if you want to know all of that information. But at the core of who I am is that I'm a woman who walks with purpose, who walks with divine intention. And one of my purposes here on this earth is to help other people, but women in particular, to harness their own personal power. But in a way, because even when I say that, I know that sometimes when we hear the word power, we think that it means domination over another person or another thing. But really, personal power is embodying all of who you are, all of who you know yourself to be at your core, and walking fully in that power, right? And so that's one of the things that I do through my coaching, through my teaching, through my book, The Magic of Self-Love, and anything else that I do is always kind of centered on that. And so becoming the woman that manifestations dream of is a journey of self-discovery. It is a journey of self-love. But there are some details that I would love to share with you here today, that I'm going to share with you here today. So here's some important points as we prepare to go a little bit deeper. Number one is that obviously in the title, it says becoming the woman, right? And so I did create this with women in mind. Now, there are some general like manifestation principles or life principles that, if you're a man watching, whoever watching, like this will benefit you as well. But I did create this with women in mind. You will hear me using words like self-love, as I already have talking about my book. And so, I will, talk about self-love. Self-love is something that will be a part of this message about becoming the woman that manifestations dream of. But I'll also use other valuable tips that I may feel are important, however I am moved to use them. And so they may be more on the spiritual side as well. So I just want to give you all a heads up, because sometimes we're so information driven or so structured. And part of this is structure, because I'm talking about the 3 points and the 3 things and all these sorts of things. But at the same time, there's a spiritual component to this. And so I may use spiritual terminology or, words that are not just straight academic, or information based. And so I ask that you have your heart open, as much as possible, to whatever tools I choose to use to convey this message. Let's see. I said this is for you if you. Oh yes, this message. When I was coming up with this, it was like I could see a specific kind of woman who knows that she's gifted, knows that she's talented, and this, is not limited to, a particular area of life, such as career or spirituality or, motherhood or what have you. It was like I saw and felt the heart of the woman who knows that she's meant for more, the woman who knows that she has some kind of purpose, even if it's not clearly defined as of yet, but she knows that she is bigger than or more expansive than the regular mundane life that she has allowed herself to have. Now, that is dependent on you, the woman, right? So what's mundane to you may not be mundane to me. What's spectacular to me may not be spectacular to you. So, when I was envisioning this, I was envisioning, that this woman, no matter how she defines her spectacular magic, or her purpose or her, her heart's desire, no matter how she defines that, or no matter how you define that, that there's something in you that has yet to be expressed. And for some reason, you've been living a little bit below that magic that is within you. Magic is one of those words, or, just a minute ago when I said I may use terminology and things like that. Magic is one of those words, because magic to me is not, just, I wish I had a magic wand, like, It's not, magic is not just that. Magic for me is being able to tap into the core of who you are and transform yourself, transform your life experiences, and really walk in your divine purpose, right? In your divine purpose. Purposes are divine because, your logical mind doesn't necessarily know or understand why. And I feel like this part may be for someone specific, but your logical mind may look at your life and say, you should just be content. You should just be okay with what you have, your regular circumstances. And while yes, there is something to being appreciative to what you have and what you've done and what you've accomplished and what you've experienced and the roof over your head and the clothes on your back and all of these sorts of things, right? But at the same time, when you know that you are not being the woman that in your heart you know yourself to be, then no matter how great your external circumstances, it will still seem mundane. It will still seem not enough. And some of you may have pushed your the beauty of your divine purpose down or pushed it to the back burner because you should just be happy with regularness, whatever that regularness is for you. And I'm here to tell you, you'll never be happy. You'll never be fully satisfied and content and joyous and free until you allow that woman that is within you to come forth, right? And that woman is the woman that manifestations are always yearning for, dreaming of. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that. And then lastly, before I really get into it, is that this is the intro to a larger learning experience, i.e. e-course, if you want to call it that, or opportunity to learn and expand. So this is the introduction to the fuller, the full course of becoming the woman that manifestations dream of. So I did want to give you that heads up because at the end I will share how you can access that. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I want to tell a story. Story time. So anyway, the story of, is my necklace on backwards? Yep. This is what a class with me is like. You know what I mean? Like, if you came to be like, when is she gonna get on with it? Get over it. That is a part of becoming the woman that manifestations dream of, because that kind of woman knows how to flow. So anyway, story time. My first recognized manifestation. Now I'm saying recognized manifestation because, okay, can I get it in there? Recognized manifestation because we're all manifesting all the time. And if you know anything about law of attraction or manifestation, one of the basic things that sometimes gets overlooked is that manifestations are actually happening all the time. We are always attracting, we're always drawing things to us, but they're happening at such a small level that sometimes we don't recognize them, right? And so because we don't recognize them, we think that manifestations are only those big things that happen. Like, ooh, I manifested a car. Ooh, I manifested, a dream house, ooh, I manifested, what have you. But manifestations are happening all the time, right? We are always drawing to ourselves the people, the experiences, the feelings. Really, the feelings are the first manifestations that we have. When we wake up in the morning and we feel emotionally good or mentally good, or we choose to feel that way and we create the habit of that. That is really the first manifestation, is how we feel. So if you're looking for something outside of yourself to indicate that you have had a manifestation, you're already a little bit behind, because the manifestation is something that occurs within. You know, you become, you, it's to manifest is to take something that is unseen and cause it to be seen, right? So a manifestation, when you have an emotion, when you have a feeling, when we have emotions and when we have feelings, right? um that we embody within ourselves. And then the embodiment of that feeling becomes the thoughts that we think, the words that we speak, the actions that we take, and then the interactions and the experiences outside of ourselves that we have. You've already started the manifestation process. But because so many of us, especially women, when we become so busy with life, needing to accomplish this, do this, check this off of our to-do list, we're immediately looking outside of ourselves and not in ourselves. And so we can't see the thing that is causing the outward manifestations, because so much of our attention is outward focused when it should be inward focused, because that's where a manifestation always begins. Always begins. Manifestations always begin within. Oh, that rhymes. Manifestations always begin within. I should write that down. I'm gonna watch it in the replay and write it down, so I don't waste any time. So with that in mind, let me tell you the story of my first recognized manifestation, because again, my whole life, just like everyone else, I've been manifesting, based on, my feelings, my emotions, my thoughts. But this was the first time that I intentionally said that I wanted something and watched it happen, right? So years ago, I had gone to college. I was 18 and had gone to college. And while there, I realized I didn't want to be there. I was wasting money. I was wasting time. I was skipping classes. I was having a good time. I was traveling. had my first little car, so I was hitting the road, you know what I mean, with my friends, and just living that college life when you're free for the first time, like, free outside of your parents' home, and you're making choices on your own. So when I was 18, I went to college, and I did that whole thing. By the time I was 19, I was like, oh, I don't want to be here, and I dropped out. And when I dropped out, I had no plan. I had no plan. I didn't know what I wanted to do, right? Because, when you're growing up, what do you hear all the time? What do we hear all the time? What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? What are you going to college for? What are you going to study? What's your major? All of those sorts of things. And I had no idea. I had no idea who I wanted to be when I, quote, grew up, right? And so I was becoming very miserable, and on top of that, I felt bad because I felt like I'm wasting somebody's money or scholarships and stuff like that. So I elected to drop out. I chose to drop out. I didn't know why. I just knew that that was the best choice for me, but I didn't have, a backup plan with that. So when I dropped out, I, did what a lot of people do. I found a job. I was, working in retail, a regular retail job, and just kind of living my life, just trying to figure some things out. I'd gone to like a community college to take some basic courses, but nothing would ever really stick. And I remember talking to the counselor at the community college. I was like, okay, look, I dropped out of school. So now I'm trying to figure out what it is I want to do. And I just maybe want to get in one of your programs here, or take a class that might interest me, and all these sorts of things. And the counselor, she and I are talking, and she keeps trying to figure out what it is that I want to do, right? So she's asking me those questions, so what are you interested in? And I'm like, I don't know, I just want to like travel. I want to help people. I want to help people like heal or become their better selves, right? I'm, trying not to date myself. I'm not somebody who's ashamed of my age or anything like that. But this is like the late 90s. Okay. So this is like the late 90s. So the lady is looking at me like, okay, well. So she's naming different things. She said, well, do you want to be a nurse? And I was like, oh, nah, I don't. Yeah, no, y'all don't want me to be a nurse. I remember her asking, do you want to be a physical therapist? And I think she was going down that road because I was talking about helping people to heal or to feel better. And I kept saying, no, it's like, a mind, body, soul thing. And eventually she looks at me like, she, bless her, she really tried. But eventually she just handed me like the brochure and was like, here, find something in this brochure that maybe will be helpful to you, or continue to brainstorm, right? So I was kind of discouraged because I still felt at a loss. I felt like there was something within me that was not definable, that nobody had created a blueprint for, that there was no you know uh 2 semester e-course, or it wasn't really e-courses at that time, but 2 semester class, or degree. I couldn't figure it out, right? And here's the thing: a lot of times when we as women are in that place, again, where did I say manifestations start? They start inwardly. So I was looking outwardly, right? And it's kind of logical, because when you're searching for something, most of the time you don't search within. Like if you lost your keys, you wouldn't search within, you would search without, right? You would go, look all around. And in my case, if you're looking for what to do with your life, you start looking around at what other people are doing with theirs. And maybe, maybe it will help you to see something. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever look without or outside of yourself. But at some point, when everywhere you turn, you can't find it, you can't see it, you have to go within. So at this time, I had this bulletin board, and I actually still have it, but I had gotten this bulletin board from one of my aunts who had said it would be great for school, right? This was when I was still enrolled in college. And she said, it's a bulletin board you can hang up in your dorm room, blah, blah, blah. So I still had this bulletin board, and I would just tack things up there. I would just put things up there that were either important to me or things I wanted to do at some point, or just something that I thought was pretty, right? So I had some pictures up there, but I had a brochure up there to a particular spa that I wanted to go to. And so I had just, tacked the brochure of the spa up on the bulletin board so I wouldn't lose it. And so every day I'm seeing, I'm seeing this bulletin board, and I'm seeing this brochure on this bulletin board, right? And sometimes I would take it down, and I would look at the brochure, and I would look at all the spa services and the things that they offered and stuff like that. And then I would put it back up there. And I was like, one day I'm going to this spa or other spa. I had gotten brochures from other spas. Again, late 90s. So this wasn't go online and look up their treatment plan. This was, you had to call them, and they would send you a brochure, you would go and they would give you a brochure, right? So I saw this brochure every day. My birthday came up, and it's crazy. I'm recording this now, maybe like 2 weeks before my birthday. But anyway, so my birthday came around, and I got, someone had given me a gift certificate to that particular spa, which was wow. I was like, wow, like, how did you know? Right? So so I'm so excited. I got this gift certificate, and I'm looking at their services, and I'm trying to see, okay, when you get a gift certificate, you want to make it worth it. So I'm like, okay, which service, do I want to get? Do I want to get a massage? Do I want to get a facial? All, whatever they offered. And so eventually I make my appointment. I go to that spa, and someone checked me in, And I see that this lady is sitting over on the couch. She's really pregnant, like she looked like she could be like 8 months pregnant or whatever. Like, so she's sitting on the couch, and I mean, she's radiant and beautiful, and she looks happy. Like, she doesn't look like, oh, I'm sick of being pregnant or anything like that. Like, I just made a mental note, like, wow, she's like really pregnant, right? So I go to the room to get ready for my spa treatment, and she's the one who comes in, the pregnant lady. And she's the one who comes in, and she's my massage therapist, right? Oh my God, one of the best massages I ever received. She gave me a massage and a facial. When she left the room, and I'm getting dressed, and the room is so beautiful. Like, it's like the lights are dimmed. It's very calming and relaxed, right? What you would think of in a spa. So the lights are dim, and there's aromatherapy going on, aromatherapy oils. There's relaxing music. There's candles lit, and I'm getting dressed. And I remember standing up by the massage table. I'm fully dressed, and I'm just taking in the room, and the feeling of that room of just peace and beauty and relaxation and calm, and there's a sense of freedom. And I don't know, it just really, really felt good. And I literally said out of my mouth, I said, this is what I want. And it was like pop, 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 pop. It was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, no, I didn't want to be a nurse. I didn't want to be a physical therapist. I didn't, what I wanted to do was what I had just experienced, and not just the technical part, like doing a massage or doing a facial, but the whole experience, helping other people embody what it means to be well taken care of, to be nourished, mind, body, and soul. Like, so it wasn't that only my body was being taken care of, my mind was being taken care of, through the aromatherapy and through the calmness. It wasn't that my mind was just being taken care of, but my emotions were being taken care of, because, I was able to relax. And, so I felt as though I was being made whole, if that makes sense. And I said, that's what I want to do, right? So I left the spa. I'm feeling great. And so for the next 2 or 3 weeks or so, I'm doing my regular routine. I'm going to work at my retail job. And mind you, I hated this job at this point. I was like, oh my God, is this what life is about? Like, just working this job? I was like, okay, kind of, okay, I won't say I hated it, but it just, again, I knew it wasn't me, right? I knew it wasn't me. So I was not fulfilled. It was something I could do. It was a paycheck. It made ends meet, but I was not fulfilled as the woman that I was beginning to know myself to be. And lesson here, sometimes you don't know what that woman is or who she is fully, but your feeling, again, the internal is telling you the manifestation that your soul is trying to create for you. And inwardly, I knew that on a practical level, yes, this was an okay situation, but if it doesn't meet my soul's requirements, then in the long term, it's not going to be good for me, for anyone else, for the customers, for, you know what I mean? Because you become outwardly who and what you're feeling inwardly. And I did not feel satisfied or fulfilled. So it was only a matter of time, I knew, before I wouldn't be able to take it at that job anymore. So 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm working, this job, but I remember being distinctly happier going to work after that spa experience, because I was so clear on what I wanted to do. And that clarity was like a relief to me, a joy to me. It was like if you've ever been in pain, whether physical or emotional or mental, and all of a sudden that pain subsides, you just feel relief, So that's how I felt. I felt relieved to be a little bit more clear about who I was and what I wanted to do. So, I'm going to work. I'm a little bit more happy. And I started telling my coworkers things like, so where I worked at the time, uh, there was like the apparel. I'll just tell you. So at the time, I was working at Victoria's Secret. So I was at the time, I don't know how the store is structured now, but at the time, if you worked on the lingerie side, you were employed by the lingerie side. If you worked on the beauty and perfume and stuff, that section, they were the beauty specialists. So I was actually on the lingerie side. And but you could work if they needed somebody to fill in on, on the other registers, you could do that, right? So I would go to work and I would go like over on the beauty side and I would bring like products over to the the lingerie side and talk to my coworkers like, oh yes, this one, this one is if you smell this one, the aromatherapy of this one will make you feel this and that. And all of a sudden I became like this spa expert, wannabe expert, right? Using the products, in that store, just talking about those products and the benefits of them. And I don't know, there was a glow about me. I was happier to do something that I didn't want to do. Like I didn't immediately feel like I should just quit or anything like that. I don't know. My vibration raised is what I would say now. My vibration raised because I was clear. Clarity raises one's vibration and you immediately become happier even before the circumstances around you change. Again, the manifestation happens first inwardly. So one day the manager on the beauty side, she was understaffed. And so she asked me, would I come over on that side that day and just, work her register so she could go to lunch and what have you. So it was cool. I was happy to be over there. Right. So I went over there and, so I'm running the register. This woman comes into my line and she's checking out. I want to say she had stuff from both sides of the store, but the lines on the lingerie side were long. So she came over to check out on my side. And, it's a pleasant exchange, nothing extravagant, but it was a pleasant exchange. When she went to pay, she handed me her credit card and it had the name of that spa that I had just gone to like 3 weeks before. Oh my God, y'all. Why do I feel like crying right now? It was such like this moment of, oh my gosh, right? Now, mind you, I was not trying to make anything happen, but I recognized that something was happening. Right. So when she handed me the card and I saw the name of the spa on there, I was like, oh my gosh. Immediately I knew she was either the owner who I didn't meet that day that I went. I had never met her before. So she was either the owner or someone who had purchasing power, like who had the power to, swipe that card. Right. And because, we're in a retail store, I'm like, well, she must be the owner because if she just worked in that spa, she would not have this card at Victoria's Secret, right? So I said, oh my gosh, I was just at your spa like 3 weeks ago and had the most amazing experience. And I started raving to her about my massage, my facial, the room. And I said, and the last thing I said to her, and this wasn't trying to get her to do anything for me or anything like that. I just said, when I left there, I said, this is something that I want, this is what I want, this is kind of what I want to do with my life, so I was just really like thanking her for that experience and not really expecting anything else, as soon as I said that, she said, well, the lady who was your practitioner, she's about to go on maternity leave. Remember I said she was really big pregnant, right? And she said she's about to go on maternity leave and I need someone who can, maybe fill in. So if you're willing to be trained, I would love to have you. I was like, hell yes. Okay, I didn't say it like that, but that's what I was thinking inwardly. Like, yes, that's, really what I want. And, and so it just kind of worked out. Maybe a week later, we have a meeting, we talk about it. And at the time, again, like I said, this was the late 90s. I'm not sure what the rules are now, but at the time, in the field of cosmetology and massage therapy and aesthetics was just becoming like a major thing. But at the time, you could work under the license of a licensed cosmetologist, which she was. She was the owner of the spa. She was also a licensed cosmetologist. And so I could apprentice under her until I got my license. So basically, she's saying that she would vouch for me and that she would train me, and so, with state board, that's how I would be considered, under, in her business as an apprentice. Now, this, even telling this story now, just freaking blows my mind, because I knew nothing about that industry. I knew nothing. Like, I knew I didn't want to be a hairstylist, so I knew I didn't want to go the cosmetology license route. And what I didn't know at the time is that as a cosmetologist, there's so much more that they could do with that license, like skincare, all kind of stuff, not just hair. So anyway, I didn't know enough about that profession to know what licenses I should have, what education I should have, what training I should have. All I knew was that I was clear finally about the field that I wanted to be in. And I felt the joy, the fullness of that joy, of that clarity, even while working in retail. And because I didn't know enough to overthink it, the way was clear for it to come to me so super easily. And at the time in my life, I didn't even realize how big of a manifestation that was until it was years later that I was like, man, that was like, what were the odds that that woman would come to my line? You know what I mean? To check out the owner of the spa that I said that I wanted to work in, right? And so I apprenticed with her, under her, for a few months. And then uh the cosmetology, excuse me, aesthetics, to become a licensed esthetician, was becoming a bigger thing. Right now, you hear that a lot, licensed skincare professionalists and estheticians. But at the time, it was not a big thing. And at the time, let's just keep it real, if you look like me, it was not a big thing. We were more so, as especially like Black women, African American women, we'll get our hair done, right? But the skincare, because the whole thing, black don't crack, and all of those sorts of things. So that was kind of like a sidebar, and so because it was, to me, it was already a sidebar in what we were doing. It didn't cross my mind that it could be a profession, right? And so after a few months or so apprenticing under her, a woman comes into the spa, a beautiful Black woman, and she was becoming the head teacher of the aesthetics, of the newly developed aesthetics department at the school, not the school that I dropped out of, but the other school where the counselor was asking me if I wanted to be a physical therapist or what have you. They were just starting that program. And so I became part of that pilot program. There were only 4 of us in that class. And I earned my aesthetics license. It was just so serendipitous how all of that happened. Why am I telling you this story? Because the story is fabulous. If I cut the camera off right now, I'm sure, hopefully, you have gotten something that has, I feel like some of you, your heart is like, yes, 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 that could be me. That is me. Like, I'm ready for that in my life. But why am I telling you that story? The real deeper reason. Because as I stated, I'm sharing the 3 things that manifestations are looking for as you're becoming the woman that manifestations dream of. What are those 3 things? Ready? The first one is clarity. Manifestations like it when you are clear. A lot of times we become clear about what we want, what we desire, or even what we don't want anymore, what we are no longer willing to tolerate in our lives. We become clear about it, but then we begin to overcomplicate it. Like, I want this, but then that means I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and then I got to do this. So then maybe I don't really want or need that thing, right? So then it becomes this thing where we are, because we overcomplicate the thing that we know in our core, in our hearts, that we were clear about, we muddy the waters. And so the manifestation is like how this would look. It might look like, okay, you say you want this to work in this spa, you want to have this spa experience, but you think you got to have this license, this license, this license, and it's going to cost you this much and that much, and you need to meet this person. And if I had known all of that, it would have muddied the waters, and that manifestation, it would have come, but it would have come maybe after a long time, or after a lot of pain and suffering. And finally, you know how we do as women, after a lot of like struggle, we're finally like, I don't care anymore. I'm just going for it. You know what I mean? It's like, it didn't even have to be all of that. You know what I mean? If you had just accepted it at first. So clarity is the first thing that your manifestation is looking for. Because get this, you are the source of your manifestation. Think about it. You know how people refer to God or that divine almighty as the source sometimes, right? And so when you think about what a source is, it's the source, it's the beginning of everything else that follows. And so everything that follows then is always looking back to its source to help it to define itself, to know itself, right? So like if you are someone who has a spiritual kind of relationship, you have a relationship with God, your higher self, the universe, your ancestors, however you define that, right? Or, you know, all of that. You're always turning to that source to help you clarify who you are, to help you define who you are, to help you get through hurdles and obstacles and challenges, right? And so our manifestations, again, are inwardly first, right? They're inwardly first. They're recognized in our soul. And when we really have an awareness about them, when we get clear about them, and clarity meaning we also accept it, because sometimes we're clear about it, but we think all this other stuff has to go along with it. We're clear and we're like, this is it. This is what I want. I'm clear, right? That clarity, that awareness becomes a thing that is not yet tangible or what have you for you just yet, but it becomes a thing that then is looking for you, because you are the origin of that thing. You are the desire of that thing. Even if the thing is something that other people have, like let's just say you're wanting a Lexus or a BMW or something. Like, there are other people with Lexuses and BMWs, you know what I mean? But why is that Lexus looking for you? You know, there's something that is between you and that car or that job or that, you know, that is unique. That's a unique relationship between you and that thing that is not the same as when that thing engages with something else, right? And so in your clarity, you are clear about how you feel and how you will use that thing and how you will embody that experience, or how you will engage with that with that experience, right? That is unique to you. So that manifestation is like that manifestation does what a lot of humans do, right? Which is, I know I was created by someone, but who created me? You know, God, source, you know, tell me who I am. Tell me, you know, give me purpose. Make great use of me. That is what your manifestations are saying to you. When you become clear, they're looking to you as the source. So when you are the source and you become unclear, it's like God becoming unclear. That manifestation is like, tell me what to do, give me purpose, right? So the number one thing that a manifestation is looking for is clarity. The second thing is receptivity. I had decided that I would have the desire. I'm looking at my notes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. I decided I got to have it without the concern of the how, right? I lived the embodiment every day. I went to work like with that knowing, with that clarity, not the knowing that the woman would come through my line, not the knowing of I need this degree or this license. I didn't know anything. I did not know the how. I was just the embodiment of that clarity, which caused me to be receptive. So now, oh wow. I told you at the beginning I didn't know, what spiritual terms I would use. But now that manifestation, seeing me as the source, also my receptive, so it saw me as the source through my clarity, right? Then it saw me as as its source when I became receptive through my embodiment of that feeling in my daily life, right? And so because of that receptivity, it was very similar to, you can know who God or goddess or your ancestors or whatever is, right? But it's another thing to feel like that divine source is receptive to you, that you can come to the altar, right? That you can, that you will be accepted by this source, right? So my manifestation, seeing me as the source, realized that I was receptive to it, that it could come to me however, it could come to me, what do people say in the church? Like, come as you are, right? It knew it could come to me how it was. And it didn't have to come a specific way and this way and this way and like this and like this. And I want this part, but not. It knew, because I embodied the fullness of its clarity and the joy of what it was. It could come to me as it was. And I would say yes, which is the third thing that every manifestation is looking for you to say yes when it shows up. Is not looking for you as its source to play small, right? It finally shows up to you. It's not looking for you to be like, well, maybe, I guess I could, well, let me make sense of it first. No, it's, the thing is looking to you as its source. You are the reason that gives the manifestation meaning and purpose for its life, right? In your life, for its engagement and its role in your life. You're the one who gave it life, who gave it purpose, who gave it meaning. So when it comes to you, it is your job to say yes. It is your job. Yes. Okay. And even in saying yes, there may be, like, if it's something you have to negotiate or talk about, or additional training you need, like eventually I needed additional training. I needed to become licensed and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there are other things, there are other parts to it. But first, it is looking for you to say yes. It is looking for your willingness to take the lead, to take the lead, but also follow the lead. That's very interesting, because you are the leader, you are the source of that manifestation. But then when it shows up to you, you need to follow that manifestation. You need to, see where that goes, so it's looking for someone to say yes and then to move, to say yes and then to move. So the three things that your manifestation is looking for is your clarity, because you are the source of it. So it can't be clear when you're not clear. And clarity does not mean you have to know all of the details. Like it's got to look like this, and it's got to come like this. It's got to be, navy blue instead of royal blue. You know what I mean? It's not looking for a lot of specificity, but it is looking for clarity, like the whole picture. This is what I want, right? This is what I want. This is how I want to feel with this thing, with this person, with this opportunity, with whatever. This is how, I want to feel. So it's looking for, your clarity, is looking for your receptivity, right? So it's not looking for you to know all of the how. It's looking for you to be open and receptive to it. And then it is looking for you to be willing to follow the lead when it comes, right? To say yes to it, to say yes. So, if this were live, this would be the point where I would say, any questions so far, any comments? You can, wherever this is posted, I guess you can comment below. Or ask questions, and I'll try to get to those, as many of those as I can. But yeah, so that was the story of my very first recognized manifestation. Now, have I always been great at it? No. Have I always been devoid of but how, or worrying and doubt? No. Have there been manifestations that I drug out, went the long, painful route? Yes. Right. And the more that I would have those experiences, it was like Spirit reminded me of that first experience and said it doesn't have to be hard all the time. It can be easy. There can be a flow, right? And so that got me to thinking about the kind of woman that manifestations are eagerly looking for. So what is the kind of woman that can be clear, that can be receptive, that can say yes and follow the lead? Like, it takes a certain kind of woman to be able to do that and to be willing to do that. The first one is self-love. You remember I said we're going to talk about that self-love thing. Self-love is a term, a word that we hear a lot, because it is important, right? I don't want to say it's just trendy. Self-love is important, so it's worthy of being discussed and being trending and to be trending, right? But self-love oftentimes is not described or defined in a way that I think really gives it the power, you know what I mean, that it possesses. And so self-love is an embodied experience. It is not an action per se. It is not a doing thing per se. Self-love is a state of being. Self-love is the state of being that then determines the choices you make, the thoughts you have, the words you speak, the people you engage with, where you eat, all of those sorts of things. All of those sorts of things are rooted in your self-love. How you feel about yourself, or who you know yourself to be, right? And so when we think about that word self-love, how do you love yourself without being aware of yourself? You have to be aware of what lights you up, what you like, what you don't like, what triggers you, what hurts you, what brings you joy, what brings you pleasure, all of these sorts of things. In order to have self-love, there needs to be an adequate amount of self-awareness. And then when you are aware of yourself, you can still look at yourself and say, dang, I love that girl. I love that woman, right? Right? A lot of times we don't want to become self-aware because we're afraid of what we're going to see. And then that fear is actually the thing that hinders your self-love. So then if your self-awareness is blocked, your self-love then is blocked. And so then you're unclear, you can't be receptive, and it's hard to say yes to the right things, right? Now, again, it doesn't mean that a woman who has self-love doesn't make mistakes or has lessons that have to be learned. That's what we're here for. We're here to learn lessons and to become, right? But where that self-love is intentionally present, it then coordinates. I keep doing like this because it's making me think of, you ever see like a leader, right? Someone who is a leader, or even a director, like of a play or a movie, right? They're pointing, they're saying, do this, do that, take action, cut, all those sorts of things. based on the vision that they see, right? On that script. So the choices that you make and what you allow and what you're receptive to is based on the level of self-love that you have. And that self-love is directly connected to your self-awareness. And sometimes becoming aware of yourself means stepping away from things and people and choices that you know are not fulfilling you on a soul level. So that's why when I dropped out of college the first time, and I just knew that's not where it was for me at that time. I was aware of that, even if I wasn't aware of everything else, right? So self-awareness creates that, allows you to choose self-love, allows you to choose to love the woman that you have become aware that you are. And then that creates the ability for you to become clear and receptive and willing to take the lead by saying, or follow the lead by saying yes. The second thing that the kind of woman that manifestations are eagerly looking for, the second characteristic is self-value, right? So now we're really getting into that clarity piece, because when you really truly value yourself, who you are aware of, not values based on anything outside of yourself, but when you have self value, it determines, it helps with that clarity, because now you can make choices. You can really make choices that are aligned to your value. Is it going to elevate your value? Is it going to devalue you? Your self value then says, okay, it's only but a certain amount of time I can engage with this kind of person or this family member or what have you, because of what it does to your own self value. You don't give yourself over to people and things just because it sounds good or looks good. You also are evaluating how it adds value to your life, or how you are being compensated for the value of your time and your energy and your expertise or your love, or and when I say compensation, I'm not speaking just in terms of money. I'm speaking in terms of reciprocity. How are you how do you say this, how the reciprocal of the love that you give, the reciprocal of the energy that you give, the reciprocal of the time that you give, right? So even in my practice, for example, there have been certain clients that I love to work with, because now I'm in a place in my life where I understand the value of what I bring, the value of, if I had to say it on a surface level, because my value is more internal, but the things that people can see, that I'm a published author, that, the story of becoming a licensed esthetician, I went back to school and got my degree. There's a lot of things, I've traveled internationally and studied abroad. There's a lot of things that have contributed to my value, but I don't determine my value solely by these outward things. Like, I've got a degree, so I'm, like, that's not all of that. But in terms of self-value, and like, for example, in my business, the clients that I have grown to love are those that I can bring all of that to, that I don't have to just say, well, I can only talk to them about this one little thing. I can bring all of that too, because I see how that awareness, that information or that knowledge or that coaching or whatever is going to help them. It's not even about me, right? It's going to help them, and they value it. And then I can see it manifesting in their life. I can see them putting it to good use. But those clients that I just pour or have poured, I don't do that anymore, but have poured and poured and poured into, and trying to get them to see and value themselves and love and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, they know it, but they don't believe it. They hear me, but they never act on it. That's not a good compensation for my gifts. And I'm not even talking about the money part. I'm just talking about the energy the reciprocal of that, right? So in understanding my self-worth and self-value, that also meant like changing how I did business. So I'm just using that as an example that you can use in your own life. You know, what choices do you make, and what are you open to and receptive to? How are you opened energetically based on um your own value? Does what you're receiving in return match the value that you put out there? And a lot of times we accept less. Ooh, y'all, trying to stay focused and not go start, preaching. But we accept a lot less in life, and we get annoyed by it because this person isn't doing this, and why isn't this happening for me, and why isn't that door opening for me, and X, Y, and Z. But it's because we have to ask ourselves, where is the level of our self-value? If your self-awareness and your self-love is low, then your self-value is also low. And sometimes we make the mistake of thinking because we have a great career, we're doing all of these things externally, if there's still a void though inwardly in your core, that's your soul saying though energetically your value is low. You might be doing a lot of things, but if you're not fulfilled, success happens on the inside first, right? Manifestations happen on the inside. Joy, that fulfillment, the reason why you do what you do is inwardly, right? If that's not being fulfilled, then no matter what's happening outwardly, that speaks to where you are in terms of your self-awareness, self-love, and self-value, right? And so, and I want to say this because I feel like some women sometimes are always saying, I've done this, I've helped this person, I've helped that person, I've done this in my career, I've done this in my career, and this person's getting paid more than me, this person doesn't give me the appreciation and love in return because you're doing a lot of things that don't match your energetic self-value. And people can feel that. People can feel that. People can feel that, oh, yeah, you are really good at what you do, but how you feel about yourself and who you know yourself to be does not match all of this outward stuff that you're doing. And so therefore the universe, people, experiences, opportunities, what have you, reciprocates to you the energy that you put out, not just what you're doing. And that's a key thing. And I'm actually going to go really more into that in the full course. So those of you who want to delve into that, and I feel like, especially if you're a woman who works hard, grinds hard, hustles hard, and is still like, but now what? But what? I've done all these things. Why don't I feel this way? Because you did the things before having the feeling. You went backwards, right? And so there you can rectify that. That's not a problem. So doing that or rectifying that, knowing how to rectify that and bring balance to that so that the energy you put out is the energy you receive is something that I will talk about in the full course. And so, okay, so the first, the first thing that the kind of woman that manifestations are looking for, the first characteristic is her self-love, which is rooted in her self-awareness. The second thing is self-value. And then the third thing is your self-care. Being able to follow the lead in your daily routine and your daily practice. Becoming. That's what self-care. That's the difference between self-love and self-care. Self-love is a state of being. Self-care is the demonstration of that self-love. It's the actions that prove that you have self-love, right? And so through self-care, through a daily regimen of self-care and a daily practice of self-care, is how you begin to already possess and embody the manifestations that you were desiring. Now, this self-care, a lot of times, like self-love, is kind of trendy. So it's mostly, we hear a lot about the baths and taking care of yourself, or spiritual baths, or putting on makeup, dressing well, eating well, and that is all a part of it. But self-care is in how you routinely think, how you routinely feel, and the things that you do that allow you to feel that way. So if the feeling that I want to have is one of magnetism, where I'm able to magnetize, the things that I desire into my life, then what practices increase that magnetism? It may or may not be taking a bath, spiritual bath, right? Or it may or may not be putting on, this necklace, right? So again, if you run to do the trendy things, and there's nothing wrong, all of those trendy things are important. How you dress, what you wear, your baths, your, doing your hair, all those sorts of things are important. Working out, taking care of your physical body, right? All of those things are important. But if they're not, you could have a self-care practice that is not fully or best aligned to the feeling that your soul is trying to emanate so that your manifestations can see you, right? And so self-care is important, but the right self-care is what your manifestations that you are the source of is looking for. And so again, that, just like the self-value, the self-care piece is something that I will go into a lot of detail, a lot of juicy detail in the full course. And so the full course of becoming the woman that manifestations um, dream of, search, seek out, eagerly yearn for. This is the introduction to that course, because everything I shared here is kind of like the prerequisite to what's inside the course. But it's 4 parts. The first part is the magic of self-love. And I will go deeper into that self-awareness, because there's a divine piece to that self-awareness. There's a I don't want to give it all away, but there's a source of all that is connected to that self-awareness. And so that is a crucial part to having self-awareness, and then stepping into your self-love. I will go into a particular exercise that I actually have in my book, but I will go into it in greater detail, and because my book was written in 2016. And let me just say this right quick, because that's another manifestation. I'm gonna talk more about it in the full course. But my book, The Magic of Self-Love, was something that I decided to do while at a retreat for women. And it just came out of my mouth. I said, I'm gonna write a book. I told everybody at this retreat, I'm gonna write a book about self-love. And immediately when I said it, I knew it was the right path, but I got scared, And so it took that, writing this book and manifesting the physical version of this book was a manifestation that took a little longer than necessary, because there were some blocks that I had to completing that process. So I'll explain that more there. But this book was published in 2016. And so the exercise that I will share with you in the course, though it's in this book, the mirror exercise, I've learned so much more about that exercise. And so I'm going to actually take that deeper in the course. And so that is also in part 1. And getting clear about the desires that you are birthing, that your divine self is birthing. And so that's all in part 1. Part 2, we go into that self-value piece, which I already just talked a lot about, but I will talk really deeply, share really deeply about time, money, energy, pleasure, and joy. Those are 5 key things that, when they are working in a harmonious way, and I'll talk about that, when they're working in a harmonious way, manifestations will crave you, right? They will crave you. And so I will go into that and even more deeply about, the energy that that you bring to certain situations, not what you're doing, but I will specifically go into the energy. There's energy is different than just doing, right? So the energy that you bring is what is reciprocated back to you. In part 3 of the course, I go deeper into self-care. What is it really? And creating, how do you lady, yes, you create a self-care regimen that is specific to the manifestations that you gave birth to, that are looking to you as the source. So what self-care practices, I will go over a lot of them, but specifically, how do you create a daily regimen, a daily routine that lights you up in a way that brings the desires that you have given birth to you. So that segment will be highly personalized. It will help you in personalizing your own plans. um, and then lastly, part 4 is intentional manifestation. Becoming clear. How do you become clear? And I will have exercises on becoming clear, so that when it's done, you'll be like, oh, that's what it is. That's who I am. That's what I desire. That's the thing. Those are the things I've given birth to that I don't want to come back to me. How do I cancel that? Right. And then how do I give birth to genuine, true desires that are aligned to who I am inwardly? And so that fourth part is probably worth the entire thing, because we go into the intentional manifestation and getting clear and actually becoming. So I'm super excited about this. Super, super excited. One of the things that I have made an intention to do is to try to say yes faster. There are some things, my story about the spa, I said yes like that. There are other things in my life that I kind of was like, well, maybe kind of will. And I get that sometimes you do have to get yourself ready for certain things. But I've noticed in myself and in other women, sometimes we take too long to say yes to things that we know will benefit us, that we know is what we want. Like your manifestations are coming to you and are saying, please pick me, say yes, say yes. And you're like, I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure, maybe tomorrow, so one of my own intentions is to say yes faster, especially to the things that I know I put out there, and so they're coming back to me. And so that is what the full course is all about. I'm just making sure I went over everything. Yes, the full course will have like how to increase your receptivity, what to do to prepare for your manifestations, and opening the heart chakra. I will actually have a lesson on the heart chakra, because the heart, the mind is great for making in the moment decisions and all of that kind of stuff, or for rationalizing and logic and strategizing or planning and all those sorts of things that we need the mind for. But it is the heart that tells us if what the mind is doing is even on point or not. It is the heart that remains open to the joy and the pleasure and the love and the experiences that we desire to have in our lives. And so if our hearts are blocked because of pain, hurt, trauma, or just fear of not being worthy enough to hold the manifestation when it comes to you, then you're gonna, you'll keep blocking what's coming to you. So there is a segment of this course that talks specifically about the heart chakra, how to open your heart. If you're still watching, do this right here. Deep breath. How to open your heart to receive. The heart is a magnetic place for everyone, but for a woman, what's in a woman's heart can either open the door for trauma, triggers, negativity, or open the door for divine expression, for divine living, for higher living, for joyous living, for abundant living, for love unimaginable. So I will spend some time on that very magical part of a woman. And so the course includes, access to watch it over and over and over, however many times. I'm going to say it's lifetime access, but I don't know. Because at some point this course might become a part of something else, but I will strive to make those of you who only, who sign up just for this particular course, to have lifetime access to that. I will include other stories of manifestation from my own life and other clients to help broaden your horizons, expand your mind about what is possible, and to encourage you. And then as a bonus, so I have this thing called sacred ramblings, and sacred ramblings are when I just turn on the voice memo on my phone, and I just, whatever message is coming to me, I just record it, right? So I have all of these recordings of what I call sacred ramblings. And eventually they will be like an album, but I have a few of them that are just individual recordings. So I will actually share one with you. It's a sacred rambling called Fill the Space, Grow and Go. And I'm super excited about that. That sacred rambling is only like 7 minutes long, but it's like very, very powerful. And so as a bonus, I will share that particular sacred rambling. And so that's kind of a sneak peek because it will be part of a larger album that's coming out later. And so why do you need this, woman, lady, darling? Why do you need to become the woman that manifestations dream of? Because it is, women, we're such powerful manifestors. This world, this universe needs us to be manifesting at the higher end of our desires, the desires that God has placed on your heart, that you have placed on your heart, that universe, your ancestors. I'm using all of these different terminologies because I don't know who's watching, but those desires are divine. They're part of your soul's mission here. And so when you live below that, the world suffers. But on a smaller note, and this is probably what's most important, you suffer. You suffer. You suffer. You make things harder than what they have to be. You feel like you have to, to prove something before you can be worthy of your desires, or you have to accomplish something or achieve something, or all of this sort of stuff. And it's really your manifestations are just looking for you. But if you don't know who you are, or you're not proud of who you are, or you don't love or value yourself, then you'll never manifest those things that are looking for you, so that they also can be created in this world. So that that through your relationship with that job, you manifested with that spouse, you manifested with that career, you manifested with those children, you manifested with the clothing, you manifested with the joy or the health of your physical body, the health of your mind. The relationship between you and these things creates an energy in the world that the world needs, right? But at its minimum, you won't be happy if you don't do, and minimum and maximum, because it's that's what's most important, is you fulfilling the desires of your own heart. And so if you are someone who has been making it hard, if you're someone who has been feeling like you have to prove some sort of worthiness or achieve something before you can allow even the smallest magnificent thing into your life, then this course is for you. If you feel like you're on the brink of your next level and you're ready to respond and say yes to life, then this course is for you. If you're ready for manifestations to become easier for you, then this course is for you. And definitely if you're open to spiritual concepts, because like I said in the beginning, it's not just bullet points, and the feminine energy, or the energy of women, yes, is the bullet points and the information, but it's also the divine flow. It is also where we shine, is when we allow our intuitive selves and our spiritual selves and our heart-centered selves to shine. And so, so if you're open to the spiritual concepts that I will share. Those of you who know me, I'm an astrologer, I'm an oracle reader. I am also an author, and I'm on both sides of that. I've written books, I've gone to school, I've earned a degree, all of those sorts of things. So I'll bring what I know from that into it. But I'm also a spiritual woman. And so that will be brought into it as well. So if you know that that is for you, sign up today. For the next 7 days after this video is posted, there will be a $45 discount off of the introductory discount off of the course for those of you who want that. And then after that, it goes to its full price. So no matter when you're seeing this, though, it is valuable to you. But if you're watching this when I first posted it, and you know that this is for you, and you know that you want to say yes, you know that this is a yes for you, why not say yes and get it at a discount, at the introductory discount? So I will end here. It's been 1 hour and 20 minutes. Wow. I didn't think it was going to be that long, but this is the introduction to the full course. So this is letting you know how the rest of the course will go. And so if you are ready to say yes, click below or wherever the link is now, and go ahead and purchase that course. And I look forward to seeing you in it. I look forward to you saying yes is also the reciprocal of the energy that I put out. Because one of my missions and the energy that I put out is helping women to become who they know themselves to be at their core. So that everything isn't about working hard and trying to make things happen. It's about being the woman who draws those things to you, right? So that's one of my purposes, is to help women to be that magical woman that they know themselves to be, that powerful woman, that divine woman, right? Who can live at greater ease and joy and pleasure and creativity and freedom. So if you're ready to say yes, click below or click wherever the link is, and get access to this course. And I'm actually, obviously this is the introduction, so I'm still recording it. It will all be up within 7 days. And that's why I'm offering the discount to those who purchase early, and also the Sacred Rambling bonus. But the bonus comes to everybody no matter whenever you purchase. But yeah, so that's it. All right, so until we speak again, as always, I'm wishing you so much peace and love. Thank you for watching this whole introduction to the course, to becoming the woman that manifestations dream of. And it is my sincere desire that something I said here inspires you, encourages you, gives you the courage to say yes to your dreams. All right, peace and love.